What's up, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of the 5-Star Talk podcast with JB and Millie. Now,
hey guys!
We have a special guest today, HarleyQ's Playtime from YouTube and Twitch. So if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi guys, it's nice to be here. Big fan of your channel. You guys do awesome content.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've been checking out your channel quite a lot recently. We've been going over some of the kind of older videos now to like the viewers out there. We did a 5-Star Island tour of your island quite recently, really. It wasn't too long ago.
Yeah.
And it was really quite good.
It was.
Like, we enjoyed it so much. And we've been looking at some of the other ones of, like, your videos, you know. Oh, like the kind of... You did, like, a gamer's room tour, which we really liked.
Yeah.
See, that was really cool. I remember, like, the first thing I saw in there was the Hocus Pocus pop figures, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I didn't even know they made the Hocus Pocus ones.
I got those. We have, like, Spirit Halloween. I don't know if they have them in your locations, but they're, like, just kind of pop-up Halloween places, and I've loved Hocus Pocus ever since I was a little kid, and I saw them, and I was like, oh, great, there goes all my money.
That's so amazing. I wish we had stuff like that here.
Yeah, we've got a few of the kind of nice little Funko. We had a lovely Funko Pop, like, shop near us recently, but it closed down. And they had, like, the biggest sale on the last week of it going there. And I went in there, everything was, like, reduced by more than 50%. And I, like, only bought one thing, and I've regretted it ever since.
Unfortunately, by us, we don't really have huge Funko selections. We have them in, like, our chain stores, like Target and Walmart. And if you want to get exclusive ones, you have to buy them online. So we don't really have toy stores either. It's a little strange here in the States.
No, to be fair, we've got quite a few here, but really it's mostly stuff like Amazon, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I guess the first thing we really wanted to talk about was your YouTube channel. And so how would you, like, explain your channel to people that are new to you?
I think the most important thing about my channel is I am a budget channel. Everything is done on a budget. And I talk about my love of video games and how you see these YouTubers who have these super, like, very expensive game rooms, and I'm not about that thug life. I definitely am very cheap, and I want to show people that you can have really nice things and how to build these things and just share my love of video games with the world. I've been playing ever since, I don't know, birth. I'm pretty sure I came out holding a Sega Genesis controller. So that's just, I don't know. I like to discuss video games. I Twitch stream. You guys know that. You guys have been to my Twitch streams a few times. And I'm really just loving video games, and I think especially with the whole being stuck indoors and not being able to get out, definitely gives me more of an opportunity to share that love with the world. So,
see, when we were looking at the games room tour, there was just so many games that you have. Like, what's the first one you remember playing, like, quite consistently?
Okay, so my first game system I ever owned was a Sega Genesis, and I didn't really necessarily play that because I was so young, but the first system, I played it, but not enough to say I played it. The one that I definitely played the most was the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, and there are so many good games for that system. You have the Crash Bandicoot series, which came out probably 2 years ago, same thing with the Spyro series, they remade that again, so it's just interesting that all of these games that people have nostalgia for are kind of like being remade, and people are still playing them today.
Well, what do you think is, like, the one game that you'd most appreciate if it was remade now?
So there's a funny story with the game I'm going to choose. I actually am going to do a YouTube video on it I'm playing. It's called Guardians Crusade.
Okay.
I had asked my mom to buy me Final Fantasy VII, and my mom did not understand video games, so she must have went to the store and told these people that I wanted some kind of game, and they gave her this game instead. It has terrible graphics, but it has a really good story. It's a JRPG kind of game, and if they could remake that, they're never going to because it didn't sell well. But if they ever remade that game, I would 100% put all my money into that game because it's just one of those stories. Like you tell your mom to pick up something, and they're like they buy the off-brand one.
See that I love stuff like that where there's just like a happy accident and you come across something absolutely amazing.
And it's just funny because I remember opening the present up and just like smiling and then looking at my dad, and he knew that she messed up, but I never told her. And I'm glad. I'm so grateful that she bought the wrong game. I love Final Fantasy VII. I eventually got it, but just that it was such a good game that I got, and it's a game I think everyone should play because it's adorable.
Yeah, no, like, I've got, like, some weird, like, stories of, like, my mum going out to get stuff, and she comes back with some weird things, like, I think I was only about 10 years old, and she'd went out, I guess, to, like, HMV over here, it's like a DVD shop, and she came back with, the Howard the Duck movie, which she must have thought was, like, some kid-friendly type of, like, I don't know what she thought it was. But, like, oh my gosh, I put that on and that's, like, the weirdest movie I've ever seen. I've even, like, got Millie to watch it with me and it's so weird.
And if your mum knew she'd bought her 6-year-old child, that I think she'd have been horrified.
But you'd think, picking it up, that it's just like a little duck and you wouldn't expect the level of, I guess, how graphic it gets.
My mom was a warrior, though. Like, she definitely supported my love of video games. She knew nothing about them. She referred to Spyro as the little purple dragon. She knew that she's like, I love Crash Bandicoot, and she knew that, but she could, for the life of her, could never remember anything. And she bought us games like Grand Theft Auto. I should not have been playing Grand Theft Auto at the age I was playing Grand Theft Auto.
See, that's really cool. At least she really supported that. That's really good.
Yeah, it was never like a thing that, I got off the couch, let's get back on there. There was a thing where video games was always supported at my house. Most of the games that I actually still have, I have almost all of the video games that I have. I didn't trade any of them. I didn't any of that. They're all, more of them I bought recently, but a good chunk of them are games that I have owned my whole life, so.
See, that's really cool, because my mum used to be, like, more addicted to, like, games consoles than me or any of my siblings were at all. What was the consoles that we found in our attic that were my mum's?
Oh, there was, like, the SNES,
cool.
I think there was a GameCube as well.
Yeah, like, she used to, but she's, like, really bad with technology, so she was always like, do you want to set this up so we can have a game? She was so addicted. So going back to, like, the remakes and, like, remasters of games, which games do you think have been done, like, particularly well that they've tried to, like, remake?
I played through, like I mentioned, Crash and Spyro. Those ones are phenomenal, and they did a really good job for that. And the Crash one sold so well that they're actually making another Crash Bandicoot game, and they're calling it Crash 4, and they're basing it off of the original trilogy. Because there was other Crash games that were made, but they didn't do so well after Crash Bandicoot Warped. So I think that's kind of cool that these remakes are doing so well that they're kind of going back to the old formula of how these games from the late 90s to early 2000s were being made. But remakes are not always good. And remasters, too. Sometimes remakes and remasters kind of get mushed into one. Especially with, like, being ported to, like, more newer systems, because they took a lot of PlayStation 2 games and they ported them over to the PlayStation 3, but they didn't change anything graphically. They kind of just stretched it out for widescreen. So when you're playing on, like, a big TV, the games look so stretched out and washed out. So that's just, food for thought, especially when you're buying, like, PlayStation 2 that were ported over to the PlayStation 3. It's knowing what to look for when you're buying a remaster or a remake. Definitely do a Google search.
Yeah, like, there's some remasters, I guess, like, kind of Dash Direct ports that are kind of okay. Like, I feel that a lot of the ones for the Switch were kind of just brought over from the Wii U just because console didn't sell very well. But
those have been ported over since the GameCube. How many times have they ported over Twilight Princess? I feel like that's been ported over. I don't know if it's on the Switch now, but it's literally been ported from. I mean, you can say GameCube because technically it was the GameCube, but you have it on the GameCube, you have it on the Wii, you have it on the Wii U, you have it on. I don't know. I think it's on the Switch.
Yeah, I think it must be digital. I don't think they did a physical one of that yet, but I think they will do, definitely. Definitely they'll do that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, people are going to buy any kind of Zelda game. Zelda is an IP that's going to sell no matter what. The same thing with Animal Crossing. Nintendo made way too much money off of Animal Crossing, that's all I'm saying.
What was, like, your first Animal Crossing game that you played? Because we're, like, only new with New Horizons.
So, for me, I did not own a GameCube. I think my second video I actually posted to my channel was the first time I got a GameCube. I had friends who had GameCubes, so I did not play the original Animal Crossing. I'm actually still trying to get a copy of that because COVID, the prices for GameCube games have just skyrocketed. So my first Animal Crossing game was Wild World for the DS, and it's funny because my sister had it and I made a character on her game. And I played it so much that she was like, I'm so tired of you stealing my copy, you need to get your own. So I ended up getting my own, and yeah.
Now, see, that's
he was the only villager to give me a picture.
Oh, see, we've still not got one of them, but going back to that kind of Animal Crossing hype, like, we've got this really, really cheap shop near us. We went there a while before kind of, like, the pandemic, really kicked off. But it's so interesting because we can get, say, they sell Mario Galaxy 2, kind of classic Wii games like that. You can buy them for as cheap as, say, £5, which I guess, I'm not sure what that would translate into dollars, but we tried to get a hold of the Animal Crossing game on the Wii, and they were trying to sell that for like £30 still. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Through the height of COVID, and especially with Animal Crossing coming out, back in March, the prices for any Animal Crossing game were they just skyrocketed because Animal Crossing for the GameCube was $30 back in November. I remember because I was going to buy it and I was like, I'm not paying that much money for an Animal Crossing game. Ha ha ha, me, because it spiked up to like triple that in March, April time.
Yeah.
And the prices are finally starting to go down to a easier level. And I'll probably eventually pick it up at the $30 whenever it gets back down to that. But it's just, the whole COVID situation has just really done some damage, that's for sure.
See, I think that's one of the amazing things that we've found about Animal Crossing as well, is because it's so, like, the New Horizons one is so outdoorsy that, like, having, like, been, like, shut-in feeling of COVID, it's, like, a really good escape for so many people. Like, you do almost feel like you're going out somewhere.
Yeah, and to be honest, though, I don't think if all this, like, stuff ever happened, I don't think I would have ever wanted to pick up Animal Crossing at all.
No.
Like, which is kind of weird, just thinking about it, considering how much it's, like, embedded itself in, like, our lives at the moment.
I was always an Animal Crossing fan, and I remember when it came out, when New Leaf came out for the 3DS, I tried to get the limited edition 3DS, but I actually was on my way to a convention. So I was on my way to an anime convention, and I couldn't make it to the store in time, so I didn't get it. And I remember I was like, I know Nintendo's going to do a limited release on systems, because they do it every time there's an Animal Crossing game. I need to get that Animal Crossing Switch, and I was very fortunate where my sister's boyfriend went out at midnight and got me the Switch. So I actually have the Animal Crossing Switch. Like I said, Nintendo took way too much money from me for this game.
What would you say was like your favorite Animal Crossing game? Like that you like the concept of the best?
I definitely not Amiibo Festival. That's for sure. That's the worst one. I have it complete in box. I won't open it up because one, it's a terrible game, and two, it's a really pretty box. But my heart is torn between Wild World and New Horizons. I like all the added details, the customization of stuff. I think all that's phenomenal. But I probably put the most hours into Wild World. Some people are going to say New Leaf, and they're probably going to fight me on that, because New Leaf's really good, but I definitely think my first, love of the game, it definitely came from Wild World, so I'm going to have to say Wild World.
Which system was Wild World on again?
Wild World was for the original DS.
Oh. So we've seen some of them, like, we recently did a tour of the Ica Island, Ica Village, and we knew that was something from one of the older games that was kind of a bit iconic. But again, we've been trying to kind of get our hands on the older games, because, yeah, like, we think those would be cool, and we definitely have put way too much money, like, we've probably spent more money on, like, amiibo cards than the actual game itself at this point.
How are you getting your hands on amiibo cards? Because ours are like packs of them on Amazon are selling for like $90 and up.
Oh god,
yeah.
We've been like really lucky. The Nintendo online store for the UK has recently just got Series 2 in stock for like £4, so that's going to be like just over $5 a pack. So we were kind of like bulk buying Series 2, and then from there we've just kind of traded to get the other cards.
But it's weird because Amazon had like Series 3 for, £3.50, so I managed to get a load of them, and then like a week passed and they bounced up to like £9, and now they're sold out unless you're willing to like spend like £20 on like an individual pack. Like, I've heard that it's very difficult to get them, but we've been quite lucky recently. It's just now there just seems to have been like this massive burnout of them again.
I mean, part of it was, what happened was when they created those cards, it was for our Happy Home Edition. I actually didn't play that Animal Crossing game. It's okay. It's an okay game from what I hear. And the cards sold so poorly because there wasn't really any use for them besides scanning them in and then you were done with them. And now that they either had a huge stock of them and people bought them up and now they're trying to resell, jack up the price, things like that. Or then you have people like me who would probably get my hands on the cards and then hoard them because I think they're adorable. I would want a physical instead of a digital. That's just how I am. I'm a physical collector.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same like that. Like, oh my gosh. So, we recently graduated and I wanted to get Millie something. Like, a part of it was like a game, and they were selling this game on Amazon. It was like a physical copy for say £35, but there was also a sale on the exact same game on the eShop for like $15, so pretty much like half price. And I was genuinely like kind of fighting with myself on which one to get, because I genuinely just would have rather had the game there and just,
like paid double, but to have that proper copy there in your hand.
Like to take it with you, to put it on a shelf or something like that. Like, if I'd played Animal Crossing back in the day, I think I would have had all the amiibo cards, just because I get so addicted to collecting things. Like, it's weird.
See, I've got seriously addicted to the amiibo cards. I must spend at least like half an hour every day trying to like trade to get ones that we haven't got.
Oh, and it's so good. But on eBay it can get so frustrating because there's like the bids can get so competitive. I think I've only won like 2. It's crazy.
I generally try to avoid eBay unless it's like a buy it now or something, because I've just been burnt too many times. Not like I've ever got anything. It's just always been like I've been outbidded because apparently everyone has faster internet than I do and I can never win. And it's just so angry. And I want to buy Hugh so bad. I just want him, because I had him in Wild World. He was my favorite character in Wild World, and I've been trying to get him ever since. And I just refuse to spend $5 on a silly little blue pig.
Do you have them on your island at the minute, Hugh?
No, I don't. It's killing me. I need him. My friend gave me a poster of him, but I don't actually physically have him.
What we can do, because we've got Hugh's amiibo card, we can like scan them in, get them to move in, and when they're in boxes we can invite you so you can get them on your island.
I would love you forever if you did that.
We've got like an empty house coming up, so we should definitely work on doing that.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I literally just got rid of one of my villagers that I don't like. I didn't like Clyde. Everyone likes Clyde. I don't like him. He's this yellow horse, and I don't like him. Oh. And I didn't like him. I don't know what it was. I think it was he was just really annoying, and every time I was mean to him, he was always like, "Oh, thanks, Harley." I'm like, "No, stop being nice to me. Like, I don't want you here."
I feel like that was me with Chops when they moved into the island.
Yeah,
and he finally left yesterday. I got him to leave yesterday, and I literally was screaming. And I was like, yes, finally, get out of here, nobody wants you.
Oh, that is going to be the day Chops moves out. Like,
no, Chops
I am happy now we've agreed to do this with Hugh so that I can get rid of Chops.
No, Chops is
Chops is
alright, but it's time for Chops to move on at this point. Like, and Hugh seems cool. Hugh does seem cool. I love like how he kind of is like the reverse of Cody. And what type is Hugh? Is he like a jock?
He's a lazy islander, I think.
Oh.
He's very lazy and he's very angry, and I just feel like he's probably my personality because I'm very lazy and very angry.
See, speaking of like you trying to reflect the personality in the game, we just took a look around your island before we did this podcast, and just to kind of like refresh in our minds. And after seeing some of your videos, we feel more in touch with the house because, like, you know, the basement area where you've made a games room. I felt like that was like really reflective of you after seeing like some of your videos.
Yeah, and even the Animal Crossing Switch is like in that house.
Yes.
Yeah. My life is just a little bit of everything. I'm not exactly one personality type. I can be a goofball, I can be super serious. I can, I just want my island to just kind of reflect that, and I felt like it's still getting there. I finally got a sandcastle for the beach, so the beaches are actually starting to fill up now.
That sandcastle is amazing. Like, I was so happy when we unlocked that.
Yeah, I think that's something we got quite early though, wasn't it? It was so weird, like, it seems like there's like a random rotation in the game, like some people are getting items early, and people are still waiting for them now, like, I had to like reach out for like bamboo speakers for the longest time, but I know people that had it since like day one.
Yeah, I've had that since day one, pretty much. And for me, I needed the cutting board forever, and I couldn't find it. And actually, one of my viewers on Twitch, they gave me the recipe for the cutting board, and then I found it the next day.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah, I was livid.
Some things seem to take forever to get, like, to be able to make the ironwood furniture for the kitchen.
Oh my god, yeah, it took forever. And I got that recipe to make the kitchen set, whatever, for like the sink, but I just needed the cutting board, and I was like, it was such a tease, because all I needed was a stupid cutting board.
I think I got the recipe for like the sink part on like the first week of the game, and we've now been playing it for like 4 months, and I think I only got it 2 weeks ago.
I've still not done it.
Oh my gosh.
Just takes forever. So, like, how long have you been playing New Horizons for? Did you get it when it was at the release date?
Oh, yeah. I literally, when they announced it and I had the date and everything, I was so torn where to order it from because I wanted a pre-order bonus. And then the places where I waited too long because I couldn't decide, and I ended up buying it from Best Buy, and I got, like, a little, like, money pouch thing with it. And I remember, like, going into Best Buy and like getting it, and I was nervous I wasn't going to be able to get the physical copy because of the whole COVID thing, because that's when around the time in the States they were starting to shut stuff down.
Yeah.
And I think it was around that time they shut it down, and then like I got the game, and then like a couple days later they shut everything down.
Oh gosh.
So I was very lucky. I didn't think there was a couple of other games that came out shortly after New Horizon that people weren't able to get physical copies of because like places like GameStop and stuff were shut down.
See, I remember when we went to get it, and like you said, it was really at the start of COVID, and there was people just like walking around the shopping centre that we went to with the masks on and everything, and the staff there were literally counting down the copies of the game left. When we were in the shop, they were like, okay, we've got 3 of this game left, and that must have been like 10 a.m.
Yeah, because before that, before the proper lockdown and all that, we, made it a point to, go out one last time and, stock up on games. And I can't believe that was one of the ones that we didn't get on that day. There was only literally 4 of them left, and we didn't get them. I think in the end we got, Mystery Dungeon, Let's Go Eevee, and what was that,
Hasbro
Games Night? I got
Let's Go Eevee that time, too. Yeah. It's funny, I got Let's Go Eevee because I literally that was my first time having a Switch, was when the Animal Crossing Switch came out, and And I remember going to Target and picking up games, and then I went over to Best Buy, and I got Katamari Damacy Reroll, and it was like $20 there, which is actually moderately cheap. The game's cheap anyway because it's a remake. It's a really weird game. It's actually more expensive on the eShop than it is for the physical copy, which is kind of a...
That's so strange.
Yeah. Yeah, and because I needed games to hold me over until Animal Crossing, because the Switch came out, and then Animal Crossing came out a week later. So there's only like 1 week where I was actually playing other Switch games, and it's pretty much been... I don't even think I've taken the card out of my Switch since Animal Crossing. Maybe once or twice I've taken it out.
So was as well, like, whenever because I only play Animal Crossing, whereas JB's got like some other games too. I just pick the Switch up and don't check what game's in it. And when it's like not Animal Crossing, I'm like, what do you think you're doing? Why isn't Animal Crossing in here?
No, it has taken up so much of my time. Like, the only reason why I stopped playing Let's Go Eevee, and this is embarrassing, I was loving it, is that I managed to make it to... I don't think it was Lavender Town, I think it was the one afterwards. I'd just beaten, like, the grass gym, and then I spent 10 hours, 15 hours on Animal Crossing, and next time I logged on to Let's Go Eevee, I couldn't find my way back. I like full and got lost in the game, because it's been that long.
I didn't even get that far. I got to, like, the first gym, and then I was like... I'm kind of over this. I've played this game 500... Because essentially it's a remake.
Yeah, like Red and Blue and stuff.
Yeah, and I was like, I've done this so... Like, literally, my go-to thing as a kid with the Game Boy Color was to play the game, get to about 3 gyms in, turn it off, and restart it again, and then name my Pokemon some silly... I don't know, some silly kid thing, you know? And
I used to name them after myself. All of them were named myself.
Yeah. But I never did that. I remember... when they first, in Pokemon, started letting you play a girl character, and how big of a deal that was for me, because then it would always be like, oh, Harley, and I'd feel so cool running around with, like, yeah, this is me. I'm a Pokemon trainer, you know?
See, I know that, like, from, like, speaking to you, that one of, like, the things that you are, like, quite interested in is how the world's different for you as more of a female gamer than a male gamer.
Yeah.
Like, was that the first time that you do you prominently remember things like that, like it all being predominantly male characters that you could be?
So many times, so many. So like probably my best example would be at least for when I was like, you know, in the 90s, 2000 things started to get a little better for female gamers, but it was still, even now it's still kind of a struggle. But I remember Tomb Raider coming out and Lara Croft being a female character and just thinking that was like the coolest thing since like sliced bread. I was like, that's amazing. Like, there's a female character, she's totally cool, she can do all these things that men can do, and just that kind of empowerment. I mean, it was kind of bad because they made her this like kind of symbol in a way, but just the fact that she was a female and we didn't really have anything like that, I don't know, that's my number one example I could feel. I mean, I've had other encounters with, like, people, especially in, like, high school, when I mentioned I play video games, they just would, like, kind of brush me off and think that I wasn't legit, like, I didn't actually know anything, and then I'd start schooling them on, like, video game knowledge, and it's pretty funny sometimes. Even now, people don't think that I know as much as I know about video games, because, I don't know. It's just some weird juxtaposition where people just don't think that females know stuff about games. It's better, but it's still an issue.
Yeah, and there's certainly, like, lots of games where, like, people get so kind of caught off guard that there'd be a female playing that. Like, I don't know, I've seen... I mean, I've never actually really played it myself, but, like... Grand Theft Auto, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Like, every time I've ever seen the screen on that, I don't think I've ever seen anybody playing as a female character. It does seem very kind of heavily, you know, male-based.
It's funny you make that. I didn't even make that connection, but you're totally right. There has never been a female character for a Grand Theft Auto game. They've all been male protagonists, or, I mean, I guess you wouldn't really call them protagonists. They're not good people. They're actually, they do really bad things. But, yeah, it's totally a male-dominated thing. And it's funny because, like, sometimes when you tell people that you play games and you're a female, the first thing they think is, like, oh, you just play the cutesy games with like the cute characters or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm sitting here. I'll play Doom Eternal with you. Like, no problem. I'll do a run and gun with you. Like, yeah. I'm not all about. I'll play Animal Crossing. Yes, I love Animal Crossing, but I don't only just like cute stuff. I'll do violent too.
Okay, no, because that is totally interesting what you're saying. Because I think representation is really important. Like, it's never dawned on me until now, but when was the first Pokemon game where you could like alter skin tone? Wasn't it just Sun and Moon very recently, or was it X and Y?
I'm not exactly sure, but it's funny that you mentioned that because I remember people were so happy with Animal Crossing with that being able to have people of color and having people having that kind of hairstyle and things like that put in the game and the diversity there, and I thought that was amazing. I'm not sure about Pokemon though. I am definitely not a Pokemon expert. I think one of the last Pokemon games I played was like Pokemon X and Y, like that genre. I kind of stopped falling off because it was, to me, it was that redundancy with it. I tried to play Sword and Shield or whatever copy my friend let me borrow, and I was just like, yeah, this is the same thing it's always been. It's nothing new. I'm sure Pokemon fans are going to hate me for saying that. I love Pokemon. I do. I really do. But your games are kind of redundant.
Yeah, it is quite the same thing in terms of story. I think they never really tried to subvert anything since like Black and White. But
I mean, they've done things with like characters, like the evil people and stuff. But it's nothing where I'm like, this is groundbreaking. Let me buy this right now and sit here for 10 hours and play it. I'll still play a Pokemon game, but it's not anything where I'm like, this is revolutionary. Yeah. You know.
I mean, there are the foundations, I feel, of like kind of a revolutionary game within Sword and Shield with the wild area definitely. And the DLC that's come out. It just isn't there yet. It's just like they've given us the blueprints of the future of that game, but just kind of released it as a completed product.
Mm-hmm.
What game do you think you've found yourself like get immersed in the most? Like, you know, when you first like put it in the console and you're like, okay, I aren't stopping playing this till I've completed the story.
100% Kingdom Hearts. I remember, it's funny, actually, specifically Kingdom Hearts 2. I'll say Kingdom Hearts 2. Because I got Kingdom Hearts, the original one, for the PlayStation 2 when it came out, and I played through it. I got to the Tarzan world, and I couldn't figure out how to get past it, which apparently is a very common problem, but I mean, it was like, the internet was not as knowledgeable as it is now. YouTube wasn't even a thing, and if it was a baby. So, I didn't play that game for a couple years, and then I finally, a couple years down the line, beat it, and right before Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, and I remember when it came out, I literally beat it within 3 days. I remember crying at the end, because I was upset that it was over. And then GameStop called and they wanted my copy back, and my mom's like, no, we're not giving back that copy. My daughter's way too emotional about this right now. Like, we're keeping this game. I still have that copy, so.
See, that reminds me of when JB was playing Mario Odyssey, was it? He reached the last, 10 minutes of the game, and he snuck off to the bathroom because he didn't want me to see him crying when he finished the game.
I don't know why it affected me that much. Like, it was a great game, I loved it, but it wasn't the most I've ever enjoyed a game of recent years. It's just something about it just made me cry.
The silliest things make me cry. On my birthday in Animal Crossing, when I went to sit with KK and he was there, it just had all the well wishes from the people in my town, and I'm crying oh my god, these digital characters love me, and no, they don't. They're just programmed to like you.
Oh my god.
I'm crying, holding my Switch, just yes, they love me.
Oh my gosh, this is so like you, Jamie. His little brother bullies him because he's oh well, I'm gonna go on the Switch now and visit my friends, and his little brother's there hey, you've got no friends.
They are my friends, okay?
You just refer to all of them as your friends, don't you, JB? Just in conversation.
I've even got a notebook where I've drawn pictures of them all, just because I wanted to make a note of what their personality is and what DIYs I can get from them when their birthday is.
See, he spoke to his mum the other day, and his mum was like, you know, have you heard from any of your friends during lockdown? And he was like, yeah, I go and see them on the island every day. And she was like, what are you talking about?
Although, interestingly enough, we've all been... I guess you've both been talking about how supportive, you know, your parents were with gaming.
Yeah.
You know, like buying you, you know, those games. And I guess you, Millie, with your mum joining in.
Yeah.
But, like, oh my gosh, I used to be so badly addicted to the GameCube. It was, like, 2 games in particular. There was this one, it was, like, this Mickey Mouse game. I can't remember what it was called, but, like, the premise was, like, you walked around a haunted house collecting keys. And, like, they used to wake up to, like, noises at, like, 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And I'd just be there playing that. There was also this, like, Godzilla fighting game on the GameCube. I think it was a bit like the one that was on your channel. We saw that on your channel.
The PlayStation 2,
yeah, but I think I got the GameCube version of that. It was kind of like a different variant. But they, like, took it off me because it was too violent. But honestly, I spent that much time on it, they had to take it away, and said that I'd spent that much time on it that I'd burnt a hole in the system and that they were sending it off for repair. And I've never seen it since.
I went through so many PlayStation 2s for the exact same reason, where I just play them so much that I burnt the laser out on the actual system.
Wait, is that real?
I burnt so many, like, through them just from playing them so much.
Oh, I thought that's just something they made up so they could take it away.
No.
Oh my god.
I mean, you have to really play it a lot for it to do that, but I mean, like, I really do address, like, on my channel, I say I love the PlayStation 2. I really do. I went through, I want to say 5 or 6 of the PlayStation 2s. One of them was, like, you know, falling, things like that, because when you're a kid, you're not, like, aware of wires. I don't know, I feel like you don't have any, like, spatial awareness when you're a kid. You just kind of, so, you know, think, like, accidents and stuff like that, and, man, my dad was like, alright, trip to GameStop, and we'd go to GameStop and buy a pre-owned system or a refurbished system or whatever.
Yeah.
And,
so, like, speaking of wires and falling over them, for me, the Wii was, like, revolutionary in terms of consoles.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like, it was, because my mum always has this thing about, like, wires looking messy. So, like, whenever I'd finished playing a game, she wanted me to, like, box up the entire console and move it, so there wasn't wires everywhere. And when the Wii came out, it was so amazing, because, like, it was neat, it was tidy, there wasn't all these wires everywhere, and I was just allowed to leave it set up all the time.
Yeah.
I absolutely adored that.
With that, all you have is, like, the AV cables, you just put that in the TV, and you're pretty much ready to go. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's quite simple.
So, I know you really like PlayStation. Would you say that was kind of like... So, if you had, like, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, would you say that PlayStation was, like, your real area?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, as a collector, I like them all. I don't avoid Nintendo, but I avoid Nintendo because Nintendo prices never drop. Ever. Like, even, like, the Wii U games, they haven't been making Wii U games forever, and those prices are still $30, $40, some $50, even $60 for a Wii U game. That's not even really worth it. So it's like, I like Nintendo, they have really good IPs and stuff, like Mario's amazing and whatever, but I definitely like PlayStation because they've always, to me, always been the best. So that's, I don't know, someone's, again, probably gonna fight me on that, but numbers don't lie. The PlayStation 2 sold the most amount of units. They literally sold 155 million units. I want to say half of those would probably be, because I broke most of mine. But yeah, they sold so many units. So, I don't know, that's just fun fact.
See, I once got a PlayStation 2, I think it was for Christmas. And it was like my first ever proper console. Like, every other console was my brother's. And so he'd agreed to play a Harry Potter game with me on the PlayStation. And I didn't have a memory card to save it. And so my dad had gone out to the shop to buy one while we were playing this game. And as I went to push in the memory card, I hit the reset button. And me and my brother had been sat there for 5 hours playing this game. And he told me he was never going to play a game with me again. And he wasn't joking. To this day, he has never played a game with me on any console since doing that.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's actually really funny. I didn't know someone could be that mad about it.
He just gets really easily angry. But I'm not joking, he like full on stood up off the sofa. He's like, I can't believe you just done that. I'm never playing with you again. And stormed off to his bedroom.
It's crazy. That stuff happens so often with like older game systems, and now I feel like Xbox, but even the Switch, they all have these like backups where that stuff never happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just it's interesting.
Oh, you're like, I've done that so many times. Like, I guess just going back to Pokemon briefly, I decided to reset my copy of Emerald, and my starter ended up as a shiny. Like, and I didn't know what it was at the time. Like, it was a shiny Trico, and I knew that it was a bit odd, and I just reset it. I don't know why, but I just remember it so distinctly, and I just reset it.
You reset it when you had a shiny.
And I wasn't even upset at the time, but after hearing what a shiny was, like I caught like a shiny Sudowoodo in Pearl, and I just called it rare because I didn't know what it was. I just knew that it was different. But oh my gosh, since learning what they are, it was an emotional time.
I have sunk so many hours into Pokemon games and have never gotten a shiny. I don't understand it. I don't know what the magical thing that you people have to do to get them, but I could never get a shiny Pokemon. I guess it's just not in the cards for me.
See, for, because there's parts of the channel that only JB does, because I've never been a huge Pokemon fan. So, he has the Pokemon Sword game, and he's got the DLC. But because before the DLC came out, it leveled up his original team so high, he wanted to create, like, a second team to use for the channel, and he wanted it to be shinies, and he hatched over, 3,000 eggs to get one shiny Pokemon, and I don't think I'm ever going to understand how you could be dedicated enough, I'll use dedicated as the word here, to sit there for that long to try and get a shiny Pokemon.
That's just passing the time.
Just passing the time, that's insane.
I could have been using the Switch to play Animal Crossing in that time.
Well, no, because you played Animal Crossing so much at the start that I got that fed up with not being able to play that I full on invested in a Switch Lite for the exact purpose, just so I could play.
Yeah, that's very true. I got that addicted to Animal Crossing New Horizons and the Switch was JB's Christmas present, but I got that addicted to Animal Crossing, he bought himself a second Switch, but it was only a Switch Lite, just so he could play his games.
Oh, yeah.
That was quite bad of me.
I mean, I'm fortunate enough where I'm the only one in the house that uses the Switch. So it's all mine. It's not even anything. Generally, we're PC gamers in this house. So, I mean, we have Xboxes and PlayStations, and obviously we have that stuff, but, like, when it comes to gaming, there's very few things that we do on consoles anymore. Generally, if it's on the PC, we're gonna get the PC version, unless there's some special DLC or whatever, but...
Yeah.
I definitely knew I needed to have a Nintendo system because they have so many exclusive games. And, like I said, I'm going to just keep saying it. The Nintendo, man, the more Animal Crossing stuff you let out, the more money you're going to get from me. So just, easy money.
Yeah, start getting those amiibo cards printing again. And
yeah, that's why I haven't gone down that path, because I know once I go down that path, it's all over.
Yeah, that's me with so many things like Lego Mario, okay?
Oh,
I haven't bought Lego for 10, 12 years. In fact, I've never really bought Lego. It's more been like gifts when I was little. But I just got the starter pack just to like unbox and build on the channel. And like, I must have spent like £300 on all the sets right now just because I got that addicted to collecting them. And I want to build them all. Like... It's mad. Like, I'm just looking at them all now, and I'm not proud of myself, but I'm also kind of really happy.
I get that, because I've done, like, Lego, they're not Pokemon, but they're like, I mean, they're Pokemon, but they're not from Lego, they're like nano blocks, they're...
Oh, I saw them in the games room tour, they look amazing.
Yeah, and I love those things, they're so fun to build. I would definitely like to do just a build video, because they look so cute when they're done. But they can be, there's a Snorlax one that took me like 2 hours to do because his butt kept coming off.
Oh my god, I love Snorlax. So
I know, he's one of my favorites.
Oh, that's one thing I really wanted to do in Let's Go Eevee. Apparently, like, if you walk with them, they, like, carry you around. That just sounds so fun.
So, of all the games that you've played, which one do you think you've put the most hours into?
Okay, so I don't... That's hard, because it's not like I can count, like it's... Like, Steam tells you how long you've played something for.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, the Switch tells you how much you've played something for. Probably Minecraft. I started playing Minecraft when it was an alpha. So I've been playing it since 2009, 2010.
Wow.
And I've been playing it consistently since. I mean, there's been, like, couple month periods where I've taken a break from it, but I always end up going back to it. So even now, like, you told me you wanted to run a Minecraft server, I would be all in at the computer for 3 hours. I don't know what it is about that game. I just get lost in it all the time.
So you're saying about, like, taking, like, maybe a month break at a time from a game, but then going back to it. Like, I've always found the game that, like, for me is like that is Sims. I used to be so addicted to that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Sims 2 especially, like...
Sims 2 is the best one. I've played 3, I've played 4, but I always find myself going back to The Sims 2.
Me too, like, I have all the extension packs and stuff, and I've not played it for a couple of months now, but, like, there just gets to a time where I'm just sat doing nothing, and I'm like, it's time to start playing Sims again, and I will sit there consistently for the space of a week, recreating an entire, like, town with all the different houses, creating a little story arc for that, like, area, and then I'll just completely forget about it again for a few months. Then I recently took a break with Animal Crossing as well, because I just found that, like, I don't know, I'm kind of finding it a bit like The Sims in the design aspect, and I guess I would just kind of, and now I've entered, like, another, like, full addictive insight to, like, just playing Animal Crossing and redoing it as the Hunger Games Island.
Yeah, I get that, because I found, like, it's almost like a burnout, because I took a break. I actually really haven't played Animal Crossing too much. I go back and forth to it. I always go on, check the, get the recipes, and then check my store, and then log off for the day. And it's just that, just to say that I played it for the day, it's not really actually playing it, though.
See, that's what JB does, is just like, oh, I just need to log on to the Switch and do my dailies on Animal Crossing, like...
Yeah.
Check to see if there's a new KK Slider album and the ATM.
That's exactly what I do. Yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Just a little tick box of all the things he does, and then he's like, okay, you can have the Switch now.
It's just like real life, you gotta check the mail, make sure you pay the electricity bill or something like that. Like, it's not... It's just... I usually do it right before I go to bed, because I leave the Switch right next to my bed, so I, gotta do my dailies really quick, gotta water the flowers, and then, I probably do more in my Animal Crossing village and, like, house and stuff than I actually do in my own house.
I'd probably say the same about us.
You know what, same, like, recent, because I haven't been doing that much recently, but, we did an island tour. The first one we did was, like, a Captain America theme one, and the girl that did that one recently made, on, like, the game, some, like, customized, kind of unofficial JB and Millie merchandise. And they sent us over the codes for that, so I just spent, like, the rest of that day trying to make, like, a little shop in the basement of this house that we're in now as, like, a souvenir shop. Like, oh, and that was so much fun, because that basement used to be creepy as heck, and now it's actually quite sweet.
See, that's something that we really, really liked about your island, was the gift shop that you've made near the museum, because whenever we go anywhere, one of our favourite parts is the gift shop, because we, like, collect little magnets of everywhere we've been together, and so to see that little gift shop, that was just such a good touch.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I love my museum. That's the one part of the island that I think at some point I'm gonna like clear everything out and just kind of redo the whole thing, because I left the island pretty much so like organic. Like it was literally how the island spawned. I did a little bit of like the landscaping with it, but generally what it looked like what it looks like now is what it looked like when I first got the island. I changed the rivers around a little bit, but it's pretty much the same. And I would like to just go through and, I don't know, go nuts with it. I see some of the stuff that people do and the incredible, like, islands they make, and I'm like, why can't I be that creative?
See, that's exactly how I feel, because we do these island tours practically every day, and I'm seeing islands, and I'm like, how do they do that? Where did they get that? Like, the artwork that you have on the floor outside the museum, you know, you've got like the boats on, I think, the manhole covers.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. I don't know how you do that, where you get that from. I'm just like, how do they do this? I want this.
I literally just started, like, right when you guys came for that tour, I found out, like, just the customization stuff. So just, I throw random things in and just customize it and see what it would come out. And I don't know what made me do the manhole covers. I just saw them and I was like, oh, let's give this bad boy a try. And then I saw it and I was like, this is absolutely gorgeous. Like, I'm going to make like 10 of these. So.
See, it's like, I don't know, like, I see so many things that I just didn't realise you could customise. Like the manhole covers, like the fridges as well. Like, we saw one that had like fridge magnets and stuff on it. And I was like, I didn't know you could customise this stuff.
Yeah,
I literally like go through and just see if it has that little paintbrush on it, and then if it does, then and sometimes I just like it how it naturally looks, but I always just take a, little gander at just whatever,
What game are you playing the most at the minute?
I'm actually in between games. I was playing a lot of Elder Scrolls Online. It's from like it's a Bethesda online game. I mean, it's not just Bethesda who makes it, but that's one that I stream a lot. I play a lot of Stardew Valley, and if you like Animal Crossing, you're gonna like Stardew Valley. That's another one that you're totally gonna get addicted to. And they have it for the Switch, so plug for Stardew Valley. It's an amazing game, and it's one that I always find myself going back to. Probably Overwatch is another one I play a lot of. I switch in between games. It all depends. It really does depend on my mood. I'm a little bit of everything.
See, that is so amazing, because I do like how, like, you could more or less play any type of game. Like, I'd say I had quite a consistent theme that I like design stuff like Animal Crossing, like Sims.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like any kind of genre of game you could give to you and you, like, would know exactly... You'd probably be like the best at within the space of a few hours.
To be fair, that kind of goes back to the kind of gender debate that we were having before. In that I remember when I was trying to get Millie to play the Switch, and before Animal Crossing, I remember like you were looking at the listings for all the games, and you were like, "There's nothing here that's kind of
girly."
Yeah. Like, I don't know what else they've done. Like that's, I guess, cliche in a way, seen as that. I guess I don't know, just Animal Crossing and.
See, I would say for like people that have the game preferences I do, there's not really that much.
I mean, you can make the gender debate about any kind of game because, like, Stardew Valley is very kind of Animal Crossing. It's like Harvest Moon kind of thing, and I remember buying it for my boyfriend, and he's like, I'm never going to play that game. It's way too girly. So it's the he said the same thing about Animal Crossing, is like, it's too girly. And I feel like there's that stereotype with men having a certain type of game that they are allowed and versus not allowed to play. So it goes both ways.
That's true, because I think Animal Crossing does seem quite, like, I guess, female-centric in terms of audience. Like, we've done about 50 island tours now, and I believe in all those tours, only 2 of them have been from creators that identify as, like, male, which is kind of a bit shocking, really, but also I guess it makes sense in a way, but I'm not really sure. Like, did you ever notice that?
Like, males like kind of a bravado thing, don't they? That like They like the games with the guns, the blood.
Yeah.
They don't like to kind of veer much from that image.
Because that would scare me. Like, I think that would frighten me, and I'd probably be very bad at it, so I'm just very comfortable with games where I can fish.
So another type of, like, game that we wanted to talk to you about was, another type of game that I predominantly played was, like, story type games that were based off, like, a movie or a book. Like, in terms of games that have been a recreation from a movie, do you have any that, like, stand out to you? Like, say, I know PlayStation did some quite good adaptations of Harry Potter and that sort of thing.
Probably the go-to one that kind of comes to mind that's like a movie tie-in one is definitely Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 2. I don't know if Spider-Man 2, I want to say it came out and everything, but I happened to play it from the PlayStation 2. Just the mechanics they used for that game. They took, like, Spider-Man, they kind of took points from the movie, but they didn't really, they just kind of used the name to get people to buy the game. So that's probably the best example. The Harry Potter games were pretty good. I played those for PC many moons ago. So those are the first two that come to mind. I generally don't do movie tie-in games because a good percentage of the time they're not that great. So, I mean, there obviously are cases where that's not true, but at least from my experience in gaming, they're usually not that great. But again, it's definitely changing. There's definitely better tie-ins now.
Yeah.
I just don't tend to be interested in those, you know?
See, we hear a lot about, like, for positivity towards games. Like, is there any games that you would say were a particular letdown that you were looking forward to and they didn't, like, kind of hit what you were going for?
Oh, there has to be some. You know, people talk about, like, buying games that they didn't really like as a kid, or, like, the only example I can think of, and it's funny because it actually is a movie tie-in, is Jurassic Park for the Sega Genesis. It was the last game I bought for my Genesis. I remember getting it for my birthday, coming home to play it, and just, like, it was so ridiculously hard. It's a platformer, and it's just so hard. It's a really hard game to play, and I just was so upset because I just didn't have... I probably could now, but, you know, not having that fine motor as a kid, I was just not having it. I was like, this is the worst game ever. I can't believe I have this game. Mm-hmm. And that's the only example I could think of a game where I was just so upset that it was so bad.
Yeah.
There's so many of them for, like, the Wii, though, I feel like. I remember my younger brother getting some, and they did some pretty obscure ones, like... There was a Shrek the Third Wii game, a Space Chimps Wii game, and I remember just trying to play like a few levels with them, and it was almost like, I don't know, you just get to a stage where there's a level, everything else has been so easy, but they've like overlooked one thing, and like there's just a particular level where it gets that bad that you just can't play on.
Yeah, see, I'd agree with you, and I'd say the most recent example of that for me was that JB and I have been, like, trying to complete some Lego-style games, and I can't say that, like, I've ever been a big Incredibles fan, but that's the one that JB chose. And there was one level where on the second attempt, it didn't flash up, a message didn't flash up on the screen. So we'd spent over an hour trying to work out what you were going to do, but because this message didn't come up again the second time round... When we kind of restarted it, we did it within 10 seconds. It was a real... But just that one kind of thing, we've not played that game since, it just kind of was enough to put you off it almost.
Yeah, whereas the Lego Harry Potter one, we played through years 1 all the way through 7 together.
Yeah.
But with that Incredibles one, like you say, we just never picked it up again.
Have you, like, played any, like, Lego adaptation games? Do you...
Oh, yeah, definitely. I hadn't really played them since, like, 360, but, like, the ones that I did play that they're cute games, they really are, they're cute little games, but the one that I played a lot of was definitely, like, the Lego Star Wars one. I thought those were just, like, the coolest thing ever to, like, pretty much play through the original Star Wars movie, but you're a Lego character, and I just loved when you walked up to like the pile of the bricks and you hit the button and it would just start building like the craft or whatever that you had to use. I think they're cool games.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them now. There's a lot of Lego games now. I'm still overwhelmed as like a collector when I just see how many IPs they have.
Yeah,
of, like,
it's just like there's so many variants of everything. Like, so they recreated, for example, the Harry Potter games, the Harry Potter movies into Harry Potter games, then recreated that into a Lego format as well. And it's just kind of like, you know, it's infinite. It's like, you know, it kind of makes the thought of collecting them seem impossible because there's just going to be so many kind of adaptations and different variations that it seems almost like never ending.
Yeah, and people tend to think that because there's so many of them that that all of them are gonna have a high value. But what tends to happen, and this isn't always true, but something that tends to happen is when there's more of a game, the value actually goes down. So Lego games aren't like games that I see. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna pick this up. It's like, oh, another Lego game. Like, you find them everywhere because they're like sports games. Everybody had one.
Yeah.
I think one of the Lego games that I remember playing personally was the Lego Indiana Jones game. I really did love that.
Oh yeah.
I think my
forgot about those.
I think my first one was like the Avengers one.
Oh, see, I played on that on the Wii U, I think. But there was this one level, and for some reason, I couldn't get past it because every time you beat the boss, it just glitched out and crashed, and it never played past that. It was so annoying.
See, the next question that I had for you is, what do you think is going to be, like, your next game? Is there any that's supposed to be coming out soon that you're, like, wanting to get that pre-order in that you think you're going to really like?
See, because I generally PC game. I don't really pre-order anymore. I am excited for Cyberpunk 2077. I think that's going to be a really good game. I'm hoping that CG Projekt Red does the game justice, because the trailers look really good. They have Keanu Reeves. You can't go wrong with Keanu Reeves. And I just, it's going to be a AAA title, and they're the people that made the Witcher series, so that's apparently amazing. I've never played a Witcher game, so I have no idea. I can't even say if they're good games or not. I'm just going off of somebody else's word.
Yeah, I've certainly
But I definitely love that kind of robot, like, I don't know, nightlife city.
Yeah, I've certainly heard a lot about, like, the Witcher games and stuff, so
yeah.
I imagine that would be really good.
Yeah, it's meant to be one of those ones, like, a bit like Breath of the Wild, where people are just so shocked that with it being on Switch, it's like having a fully fledged storyline and intricate game on something that you can just have in your hands. Like, one of those things where it's just unbelievable that it could even be on the system. So I've heard good things about it. Really good things.
Yeah. I'm absolutely blown away by the amount of games that they're able to actually port over to the Switch, because they recently just brought over a bunch of 2K games with, like, BioShock, and, like, Borderlands and some other stuff like that, which these games ran on, like, full-fledged, like, consoles, and now they're on, like, this little, like, weird hybrid console, which is just incredible to me.
See, it's incredible to think, because like I said, I remember, like, when we had to, like, get different memory cards and stuff for the PlayStation 2, and this is all, like, one tiny handheld system, and all you need to do is just swap game cards.
Like, it is incredible. Like, just to think that playing on, like, the original Game Boy, if I wanted to play on that, like, for, like, a long car journey, I literally have to pause it, and then every time you go past a street light, hold it up to the window for, like, a minute of gameplay, and then waiting. And now to think that I can literally be playing a full-on game on the TV, and if there's, like, an emergency trip, just pick it up from the dock, and there you go. Like, it makes me feel quite old saying it, but just having those memories of, like, the kind of older systems is quite special.
And like you said, for, like, the streetlights and stuff, just that you can, like, alter the brightness as well. Like, it's like, I remember having to, like, tilt it when it was too sunny, trying to, like, get a good angle, and
those were fun times. And having to blow into the cartridge sometimes to get it working.
That's just because of the connect. That has to do with connectors too. Sometimes just getting that moisture in. Although they tell you not to do that, everyone does it.
Yeah, I certainly did that. Even with the DS, to be honest. I don't know if it helped or not, but sometimes with like the older ones that I just started replaying.
Definitely. And I don't know for how it is over by you guys, but in the States, we didn't get a backlit system until the Game Boy Advance SP. Everything wasn't backlit. I don't know why. And they had backlit systems. Like, the Game Boy Pocket that released in Japan, I think it was the Game Boy Pocket, they had a backlit screen. Why did we not have a backlit screen?
I think the first one I remember, it was... I don't know. I think it was the Game Boy Advance. I think I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't even remember now. It's been that long. I think I've got some of the old systems somewhere, but I think they've probably been. I don't know. They've probably been lost to time at this point. But I think it was more or less similar here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was only Japan that got those. Japan gets everything, and it's not fair.
Oh yeah, the amount of like exclusive arcade games and giveaways and stuff Japan get.
I love Japan,
Animal
but it's not fair.
Crossing, like kind of, just like merchandise, really, just everything.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Just every Animal Crossing merchandise that they get that we don't is not fair.
No, they could release like £100. KK Slider plush, yeah? It could go from the floor up to the roof and I'd buy that. I'd pre-order it. I really want it. Like, the more Animal Crossing merchandise they can pump out, the more upset my bank account's gonna be.
See, one console that I think, like, changed quite quickly, or that there was at least a lot of kind of variations of quite quickly, was the DS. Like, from the DS, the DS Lite, 2DS, 3DS... What, like, variation of that was your favourite? Have you, like, played with the different variations?
So, I had the original DS when it came out, that, like, kind of chunky one. My sister had the silver one. I had a bluish, indigo-ish one, which is funny because every single one of my handhelds have been that similar color. I had the grape Game Boy Color. I had, like, the indigo-ish, bluish, purple Game Boy SP. And then my DS was that indigo-ish, purplish color. The only time I got a different color handheld was with my 3DS, which was the pink and white one. And that one's my favorite because I like the big chunkiness of it. It's the 3DS XL because I just like a big screen. I think that's pretty cool. But the original Game Boy, not Game Boy, the original DS is pretty cool because it can play Game Boy Advance games.
Oh yes, that was something I really loved about it.
2-for-1, yeah.
Wasn't there that port in the DS Lite as well?
I think there must have been, yeah.
There was a port on the bottom because I remember, and this is gonna make me sound a bit doggy, I used to love Bratz, and I had a Bratz game that'd like go into that second port on the bottom.
Oh, I know, and I was so upset when they took it out. For I think the next one was the DSi, but
the DSi was when they took it out, and they put a camera. That's when they started putting the camera in there. The I actually stands for internet, I believe.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so interesting.
Yeah,
I remember.
I'm gonna have to fact check that, but I'm 90% sure it stands for internet.
Which was the one that introduced PictoChat? Was that the DSi? Because I remember PictoChat so clearly. Actually, when you think about it, it's kind of dangerous. Like I remember being after like, oh gosh, I was going on holiday. And when the plane landed, I think my brother and I just decided to go on, like, PictoChat, and a load of people were like, oh, so, like, you know, how was that flight? Like, it was so weird.
I think it was the... I'm pretty sure it was in the original DS, too. I'm pretty sure it's always been in there. But I could be wrong, because I remember being in, like, long car trips and just coloring, like, the whole little card completely black and then just sending it over. Like, and not even doing anything, just, like, having, like, a little scribble conversation.
No, I mean, I couldn't imagine them doing anything like that now. Like, I think they'd stay well away from that. Well away.
See, one thing I really remember about the DS is there was a voice feature, you know, like, say, for Nintendogs and stuff. And my mum always used to look at me like I was mad, you know, when you were, like, trying to train the dog, like, you know, sit, stay. I'd just be sat there talking to my DS, and my mum would, like,
Yep.
walk up to me like, are you okay? What are you talking to?
Yeah, same thing with Zelda Spirit Tracks. You have to play, like, the Spirit Flute, and to do that you have to, like, blow onto the DS.
Oh, the Harry Potter one for the DS as well. You blow to do a potion, and you've walked in the room before, and I'm just there, like, blowing onto the DS, and you staring at me like, what's wrong with you?
Oh, gosh.
I mean, Nintendo as a company is such an interesting one to look at because they're always, like, pushing the limits for things. They're always, like, trying to do the next thing, and they don't even follow what the other two, like, Xbox, they don't even care. They don't care. They're like, you guys release your new systems, we're gonna do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a success. Even, like, their failed systems have been successful to a degree. There's a lot of people out there that love the Wii U, even though they say the Wii U is terrible. I'm one of those people.
Yeah,
I love
the Wii U. I love the Wii U so much. Like, I remember getting it.
I think some really good games came out on it.
Oh, yeah, like, there was so much. Like, even that Nintendo Land that they did there, I remember having so many funny moments just on that game, on some of the mini-games. Like, there was the Luigi's Mansion one where the person with the gamepad had to sneak up on you as, like, boo, and you're just there with a flashlight. Even that, the amount of, like, funny times I've had on that game alone, like,
I like the Zelda one, though, because my boyfriend's always on the tablet thing, and he's doing, like, the arrows, and then I'm with the sword just swinging away, and it's such a workout. I'm, like, sweating by the end of that one. I adore that one. Nintendo Land doesn't get enough credit for being as good of a game as it actually is.
See, one thing.
The only thing I'm
Sorry, no, continue. It's okay.
Oh, I said the only thing I'm disappointed was that when you buy a Switch, no game comes with it. I was so upset with that.
Oh yeah, like there was meant to be. I guess the equivalent would be 1-2 Switch, but to get that, it costs like the price of a normal standard game. And
I actually have that game.
I've been tempted a few times, but it's kind of like if you had to pay
it's a party game.
The same amounts. I don't know, I just feel like there's so many other games more up the list.
No, you're 100% right. The only reason why I bought it was because I had a friend who showed me the game, and I really liked some of the mini games, and I wanted to have it from people who are over, and I could be like, oh, let me show you this really weird Switch game. And, I mean, probably for the gags it's not worth it, but I have it.
No, some are just funny like that, like... That is why we kind of invested in, you know, Super Mario Party and even Hasbro Game Night. Like, that's like, I don't know, like Hasbro Game Night you can get Monopoly, Risk and Trivial Pursuit. And we've spent so much time playing Risk, like...
And we'd never played it before, we didn't know what it was.
And it's the one game that can really just get me full on shouting at the TV. It's like I get proper into the games of them.
Now you gotta get full on shouting with Mario Kart or Mario Party. That destroys friendships.
Oh, but the River mini games are actually really good. I can't get enough of them.
Yeah. Mario Kart is like, I adore that game so much, and we had my mum over like a few months ago, and we decided to introduce her to the Switch. So we put Mario Kart on, and she was jumping up and down on the sofa, screaming. My dad was just sat there with his head in his hands like, oh, the noise!
Oh my god.
And JB couldn't see because he kept closing his eyes because he was laughing so much. I think she was winning by default.
Gaming is pretty intense sometimes.
It was just so funny. But going back to like the other systems, I do think that like Nintendo, I think like Xbox and PlayStation kind of progressed in terms of like graphics and that sort of thing, whereas Nintendo really like to push the envelope and think of like what's not been done, what can we do. Like, you know, the system that switches from handheld to the big screen, the Wii that has the like wireless remotes, and Xbox did a Kinect thing that was kind of along the lines of something different, but I don't remember that ever really taking off that well.
When the Wii came out with motion controls, pretty much Xbox and PlayStation did clean up, where they were like, we're just going to come out with these things because like the PlayStation has a PlayStation Move, which I played. It was okay. I didn't own it. My brother owned it, and I was playing it. I mean, it's a gag game. Again, it's nothing to write home about. And the same thing with the Kinect. I wish they put more time into the Kinect, because that could have been revolutionary if they got it to work, but they rushed the technology, they rushed it all just to try and take money from Nintendo. But Nintendo had already won at that point, so it was just kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, like the Wii still is, I think, Nintendo's best-selling console. Like, they recently released all the sales figures, and the Switch is catching up, I think, but I do think all in all it is.
I don't know. From what I know, the NES is still Nintendo's #1 selling system. The Switch is slowly picking up on that, and the Switch is actually getting close to, I think, 9 million units sold.
Wow.
Probably, yeah. I don't know how many units the Wii U sold, but it has to be pretty close, because everybody and their mother had a Wii. Like, there wasn't a household in the States that didn't have a Wii. I worked at a daycare that had a Wii that would put the Wii on for kids during summertime.
At school time, they did a Christmas fair, and even there was like a dedicated classroom in that where they were just playing Wii Sports. Like, it was insane.
I do think that Nintendo have kind of done everything right, and like you were saying, for all like the Wii U might not have been as kind of successful as some of the others, it certainly brought a new dimension. Like, there was one game that I really liked playing with you and your brother, where you could kind of like write something on the pad part of it that the others couldn't see on the screen, and it did kind of add another dimension into gameplay. Like, you know, like you get people that like to screen peek and stuff when the screen's divided.
Yeah.
It did kind of work on bringing a different dimension, even if it didn't do as well.
Like,
they've always been really creative with their concepts.
Well, I'll admit quite freely that I really do, and this is such an unpopular opinion, but I actually really miss like the gamepad. In that, when I got the Switch Lite, it baffled me that you couldn't connect the Switch Lite to use almost as like a Pro Controller for the main Switch.
Yeah.
But I know, like, more or less for a fact that the reason why they wouldn't have done that is because if that was used in marketing in any way, people would have just, like, that would have been too much like the Wii U. But, like, I think the Wii U was so good. Like, I remember, the Wii U made me dream about the Switch, in that I remember playing on New Super Mario Bros. And I just walked into, like, the other room with the gamepad still playing it, and it disconnected, and I was like, I really wish I could just pick it up and play it like, anywhere in the house. And, like, obviously you don't know it at the time, but at that point, even then I was like, oh, I just wish they'd made the Switch. So I do think the Wii U did quite a lot right. It just, I think marketing...
Yeah, the Wii U is definitely a spiritual successor to the, however the term would be, because you can see in the design that that's kind of what Nintendo was going for, but the technology wasn't quite there yet. And the thing that screwed the Wii U over was the fact that they called it the Wii U. Because people are like, oh, it's just an expansion to the Wii, which in theory, technically it was, because it played all Wii games, but it was like, not. It was a whole different system. But just that... And the marketing for it was absolute garbage. Like, it was not... It didn't tell you exactly what the system was. They made it just seem like that it was a controller. They never actually showed the system.
Yeah.
So, like it's like the Switch, you're holding the system in your hand. I mean, yeah, you can dock it up and put it to the TV, but you could literally play every single Switch game right there in your hands. And I can say that for a fact, because now you have the Switch Lite, which is literally a handheld, so...
Yeah, like, it is, I mean, some of them, I think, like, what is it, Mario Party, where you can play it on the Switch Lite, but I guess you need extra Joy-Cons, but I do like how they did that, because I was a bit curious when the Switch Lite was first coming out, you know, how things would work, and I think they do have problems, like, there's this, like, move in Mario Odyssey that you can only achieve by, like, shaking two of the Joy-Cons in a weird way, and I don't think you can fully achieve that, but they've done so well in translating all of them across, like, I think that's been phenomenal.
There's definitely games that you can't play on the Switch Lite. Like, once you switch, you can't play because you need to have the Joy-Cons just as the Joy-Cons, and the TV too. Like, you need to have it on the TV. You can't really do it on a screen. So, but I mean, it's nice for just the, I was gonna call it the Switch, the Switch Lite is nice because it's like, if you're just a casual gamer and you just want to play a quick game and you're not really too serious, and you don't feel like spending the entire $300 on like a Switch, it's just a nice thing to have. Except around here, I don't know how it's like over by you guys, but Switch prices are just crazy because people bought them all.
It's like that here. People, you could almost buy a Switch new and sell it for more, to someone else if you didn't open the box, because
I mean, I could sell
at the start of the pandemic
for $600.
At the start of the pandemic, everybody just wanted, the Switches, the games, because it was kind of like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do all this time?
Yeah. I definitely think that the release of Animal Crossing fueled that fire too, because people were buying Switches because of Animal Crossing, and then people were like, oh, well, I need to do something while I'm stuck in the house for however long, and then they saw that the Switches were starting to go down, so kind of panic struck in, and then everyone just started buying them to have them, which is it's supply and demand. People start to automatically think, oh my god, all this stuff's going away. And in reality, it's just people buying them, I just got Ring Fit Adventures after searching for that game since March. Like, I literally they finally got it back in stock. And every time I go to the store to buy it, it's gone. So I bought it online, and because they were selling it for like $120. The game is like $80, and that's just ridiculous. I'm not going to pay that much of a high price for a game that's just not... I'm going to pay it for how much it is. It's a brand new game. So,
yeah, see, I've heard about Ring Fit Adventure. It's one that I've kind of been interested in. It's like, how do you describe it? It's kind of like a Wii Sport type thing, but implemented in a full-blown storyline. Is that kind of what the general gist?
I mean, I haven't played it yet, so I can't give like a full-out description. But I think one of the reasons why I like it is I loved Wii Fit. And I love that Nintendo always tries to get, like, kids to move.
Yeah.
It's definitely... Everyone's big argument with video games is that kids don't move enough, and that kids need to be outside. And this is kind of a way to get them both interested in fitness and also play video games.
See, Nintendo do that so well. I mean, I loved Wii Sports, the Wii Fit... And Nintendo doing the Just Dance on the Wii because of the motion controllers. That was really good too. And so, I mean, I would love it if once you played that game, you did a video for us to, like, watch so that we could, like, of you reviewing it. Because, I mean, it's certainly something we're really interested in.
I've had a video of just, like, workout games for the... I'm just going to say the Wii. Workout games for the Switch planned for months, and the only thing holding me back is I haven't been able to get my hands on Ring Fit Adventures, and now I'm supposed to get it in the mail next week, so video of me gasping for air is coming live to you soon.
Oh no, that would be so fun. Like, so many times I've just been tempted to release, like, just videos of me trying to play Just Dance, like, it would be hilarious, it would be really stupid, but I'm just really curious to know more about reviews, because funnily enough, the one thing that I've wanted to do since day one is game reviews on the channel, and I don't think we've done one, and I don't know why, it's just never happened, but I'd like to.
I can tell you, I have so many, I literally have a notebook, and every time I think of an idea for a video, I write it down. And I looked at my list the other day, because I was getting ready to shoot for the next week's video, and I was like, well, that video's never going to get made, that video's never going to get made, just because I'm like, I don't have the time and the effort to do some of these videos that I would like to do, because everyone thinks that, like, content creating is just that you sit in front of a computer and it just happens, and it's not always that.
No, it's really not. Like, I don't think I ever appreciated how much work went into this until we started the channel 2 months ago. And I was like, okay, that's it, we filmed it. And then JB was like, yeah, so here's how you edit. And I was like, how you do what? Like,
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, well, what do you mean editing? We filmed it, it's fine. And they were like, okay, we really haven't. Like, just the smallest things, like how when you click the software to start, it records the sound of the click and you have to edit it out. And it's like...
Oh, yeah.
Really? Like, stuff like this? Are you sure?
But
I have shot so many videos that when I go to actually edit it, I have to just throw the whole video out because there's a background noise. Or, like, I have 4 dogs, and for no reason, they're just a pain in the butt. It's like the second they know I'm recording, they're like, oh, Mommy's recording something. Let me make noise right next to the microphone so that way she can't use any of this audio.
See, like, speaking of background noise, that's just reminded me of a teacher that we had that was doing online lectures and stuff, and they had a dog that used to snore in all of their videos. That
would be me. That would honestly be me. That's why I'm not a teacher, because it would just be chaos always.
To be fair though, a lot of these videos as well, you can come up with an amazing concept, an amazing title, something that would get, some attention, but it would get to the stage where you could think about it either too late or it doesn't materialise, and then you just feel like it's lost relevancy. Like, one of the main things that happened, I guess, to me during Animal Crossing playthrough was the fact that Millie was the first person that went onto the island, so she was player 1 and I was player 2. So even though it doesn't seem like much, because we were sharing an island, like I never donated anything to Blathers to start up the museum. I never really got any of like the daily things like, the stones and everything like that. And so I'd come up with this kind of like video review, like player 2 reviews, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I'd had it all planned out, and I just sat on the idea for weeks and weeks and weeks until I finally decided that it wouldn't be worth it, just because the game had been out for that long, it had been that popular that it just wouldn't pick up.
Yeah, I get that too, especially like there was the one video I did where it's like annoying things about game collecting, and as soon as I got the video out, I was like, oh, I missed like 10 points that I wanted to have in there. I did save myself though in that video. I did say that there was probably going to be a part 2, because I know myself, I know that I forget stuff, especially when I get in front of the camera too, or like the microphone, and I'm like ready to speak, and as soon as I go to speak, it all just leaves my head. And then I just sound like a bumbling idiot. And I just kind of go in this circle of just the same thought over and over and over again. So I totally feel you with, and things being outdated, because I had one I wanted to do with like one of Animal Crossing's recent updates. I was like, oh yeah, I'll do it next week. And then next week they came out with another update that fixed all the problems I had. And I was like, well, guess that video's not getting made.
Yeah, like,
so in a way, I was kind of disappointed by some of the Animal Crossing updates. Like, I'm not necessarily disappointed, but with some of the things they removed was a bit of a shame. Like, we did this one tour to a Harry Potter island that was incredible. And had you seen that kind of hack where you could jump between 2 waterfalls?
Yeah.
If they were angled properly. And so the person had, like, I don't know how familiar you are with Harry Potter, but like, the person had called that Hermione's spell as like a protective thing around the campsite. And it just kind of fit beautifully into the story they'd gone for, to be able to do something kind of magical like that.
Yeah.
And so to fix that, it had kind of ruined the person's island a little bit. So it was kind of a shame, because they had to redo that entire area that was really nice. But I do think the updates have also brought some like good things as well. I'm really happy that the seas opened up and that sort of thing.
So I guess speaking of the update, that kind of brings us nicely into kind of our last topic, or at least last planned topic of this recording, which was kind of the controversy and the patching of the star fragment trees. So I guess giving a rundown of that. So I guess if anyone doesn't know, there's been some whole controversy where people have been, I guess, hacking in, or they've been gifted these star fragment trees, which is obviously, if like Celeste is on your island, or if there's like a meteor shower, you can press A when your hands are empty and you can wish on these stars, and like these fragments appear on your beach. Except people have found a way to kind of manipulate the game system to have them on trees. Now, that was all fine and good, to that point, up until this recent update where they were doing dream addresses and everything. And part of the feature with that was the report button, and one of the sections was report for cheating/hacking.
Yeah.
So I know that there was a few YouTubers that were going around people's dream islands or searching keywords on Twitter who were actively going out and trying to search for these kind of dream islands to report. So eventually Nintendo kind of patched it so that they were removed. But it was quite a hot topic, you know, a week ago, half a week ago. So still quite fresh, but I was just wondering what's everyone's kind of take on that.
I mean, I'm definitely not about cheating in any regards. I mean, I was, when the game first came out, I was full on, like, even time jumping is cheating. I time jump all the time. Not till, like, months in advance. I think the most I time jump is a day. Just to, like, get something done if I put down, like, a bridge or something. But I'm so just, like, the game is meant to be experienced a certain way, you know, and... But then you can make the counter-argument is they had this put in the game. The game's been out for how long, and they're just realizing these things are here now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, just leave it alone at this point. You'll just make it a part of the whole, you know, there's nothing... I guess the reason why they don't is because it would make meteor showers entirely useless.
Yeah. Like, when I saw them, I just thought they were quite innocent. Like, when we were doing island tours, I saw one with, you know, the crystal hearts that you got in wedding season?
Yeah.
I saw one of them that had those crystal hearts on, and I just thought it was a case of when you dig up the coins, there was the gold hole, whatever you buried in there was just grew onto trees. Like, I didn't see there was anything actively wrong with it as such until I heard that people were reporting it. I don't know that it... I mean, I think there's so much more to enjoy in Animal Crossing that, as what JB was saying there about people, like, searching for these trees just to report people. Like, I find that there's far too much on this game to actually enjoy than just kind of going around tearing people's islands down.
Yeah, I agree. I'm wondering who has that time to, like, run around and check people's islands and intentionally do something like that. Like, I mean, I'm all for, like, things being fair and right, too. But I'm also not gonna go out of my way to, like, oh, this person did this. Punishment should be brought to them. Like, that's just such a silly thing to do. Like, go to someone's island, respect their island, tell them all the good things they did about their island, and, you know, call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, here's the kind of thing with it. Like, I guess the facts are they are hacked items, or they were hacked items, and, you know, like it or not, Nintendo did implement a report for hacking button, which would inevitably get used for that type of thing. I don't really have a problem with that. It's just the issue is that with some of these YouTubers, like, they were going around live streaming it, kind of insulting the Twitter accounts of the people that had them, you know, trying to rally a group of followers to report this island. And I think when it becomes not just criticism for something that's wrong in the game technically, but I think when it became more of a mob mentality thing, I think that's when it became an issue, because there was no, like, disclaimer, like, you know, don't harass these people. And I think eventually it resulted in, if you get so many reports, I think it was like a 3-strike rule, you get like a temporary ban on, like, all Nintendo online services.
Yeah.
So just thinking, like, if this was like a kid that had been gifted these star fragment trees, didn't understand why their Dream Island was getting taken down, and just kept doing it, like, the amount of things that could mess up, like Mario Kart, like kart games, stuff, like, literally everything that you can do could have got messed up.
I mean, like, you could say the same thing, like, people just give me stuff. Like, I have so many people on my Twitch stream just come in and give me bells, give me Nook Mile tickets, give me all this stuff. And it's like, could I get in trouble for having an illegal item? Like, if they just spawned Nook bells or something like that. Like, that's not my fault that they gave me that, you know? It's just, you know, it's things like that that Nintendo would need to really focus on, you know?
Yeah. See, it kind of goes against what I kind of see what I've seen from playing Animal Crossing. Like, I do think there's a really nice Animal Crossing community out there. Like you're saying, you've got people following you on Twitch that'll, like, give you things that you need. When we've been working on the reconstruction of our island, like, we've built up, like, I'd say a really nice community from, like, doing the tours and stuff that, like, when we post that we need something, say it's stone to build something, within the space of 10 minutes we've got some arriving in the mail, and, like, I just feel like it almost goes against what a lot of people have, like, set up within the game, of, like,
Definitely.
everyone helping each other. Not like, look, you shouldn't have those trees, like, you know, kind of friendly warning, you know, I don't know if they were gifted to you or whatever, it's just kind of like, oh yay, another one I can report. Like, I don't know why people would go actively searching for it, like you were saying.
No, certainly not rallying people to do the same thing, like, it's the most important issue in the world.
I definitely think it's, like, the active people who are actively going after people. I mean, it's different if you're, like, doing Dream Island stuff and, like, you see something that shouldn't be there and you report it. But if you're, like, you know, you wake up and the first thought is, oh man, I can't wait to ruin somebody's island. Like, you gotta find something better to do. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my opinion.
I think the biggest kind of thing that worried me a bit more, though, was that people were starting to go around reporting kind of horror islands, like kind of ones with a bit of gore in it, which you can understand if there's like a lot of kids playing, but at the same time, I feel like there's no dream address randomizer in the game itself for that reason. Like, you have to go out and physically type in a relatively long code to get to a specific island. So if you're going out your way to type in that code, I guess you're either going to have to be at the age where you can consciously do that, or to actively seek out one that you know is going to be scary. So that was kind of more of a slippery slope as well, like, what island can be reported, you know, how much gore is too much gore, or it's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, like, then it almost takes this, like, artistic liberty away from, like, creators.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have to watch what you make because, you know, it might be too much for someone who's younger than you. And, I don't know. Nickelodeon puts out way more weird stuff on their TV shows sometimes, okay?
Yeah.
I think my little weird, creepy statue in the corner of my island is gonna be alright for these little kids to see. I don't know.
And it's kind of like, what's the alternative? Like, what are they going to do next? Like, take custom design options away so that you can't create effects that's going to upset somebody, like, you know, a blood mark on the floor or something like that.
I definitely think that when we start, like, doing these kind of things, we go down a very slippery slope of just slowly taking away a bunch of different freedoms that you had, you know?
Yeah.
You gotta be a little bit more open to these kind of things. It should be taken by a case-by-case basis. If there's an island where it's clearly a inappropriate island with things that are meant to do that, yeah, that island probably should be addressed if it's very, like, sexual content or whatever. But if it's an island that's just, like, spooky with, like, skeletons and skulls and stuff everywhere, like, I think we'll be okay, you know?
Yeah. Like, you know, there's lots of kind of kids' movies that are Halloween-based. It could just be something quite simple like that.
Yeah, especially, like, when, I guess, the movies that, say, we watched, you know, they're a lot scarier. Like, the cartoons that we used to watch are so different than the cartoons that kids are watching now. Like, oh, God, I remember watching so many weird things. Like, it's difficult to kind of come up with an example now, but there's just...
well, I can come up with one, mainly because we were talking about it before, was, like, Hocus Pocus, where they literally talk about the kid being a virgin the whole time. And as a kid, that totally flew over my head. And, as watching as an adult, I'm like, oh, okay, that's a thing. Like, so just, you know, it's like little things like that I would never have caught as a kid. I don't know.
Yeah, even like...
Kids are oblivious.
Yeah, even in like thematic things and visual, like, it was never one of the big cartoons that I used to watch, but just comparing, like, if you just do a simple Google search, like, the Teen Titans original cartoon and the Teen Titans cartoon that they've got now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think that's kind of, like, the standard of how much things have changed into that more over-the-top thing. Like, obviously we like to keep things friendly on the channel, but I think there's a point that, like, because there's no dream randomizer, just you know, I think it just needs to be taken as you need to let people be creative. Like, if you could go to a random dream island, I completely understand, like, reporting things that take it a bit too far. But, like, only if, like, you're, like, I guess a parent that's seen someone be affected by it. Like, not going out your way to, like, ruin someone's day or something.
I also think that, it's context too, and I don't mean to, like, say that parents need to be watching their kids 24/7, but I also think that kids should not have entire freedom on the internet, because I'll say it, I'll be the first to say it. I saw some things at a very young age on the internet that I probably should not have been on. Nothing bad, obviously, but just, like, things that were definitely not appropriate for my age, and that was because, like, I had free range to go on the computer. I was not, like, it wasn't like now where there's certain sites where you shouldn't be on. I mean, it wasn't really a thing. We're talking about the 90s and early 2000s where the internet was just becoming a staple in everyone's home. You know, I think that if your kid is on a Switch, just every once in a while, take a look at what they're looking at, you know, and I think that should be with everything, whether on their iPhone, you know, their iPad, anything, just check on what they're doing, because you could say they could play a game like Modern Warfare, and you don't know who they're talking to either, and what those people are saying to them, so keep a good relationship with your kids.
Yeah, that is so important, that type of thing, because I kind of feel that even though, like, I guess it's up to, say, I guess more public creators like YouTubers to not monitor what they're saying, but maybe to just, like, if they're playing, like, a game that's, you know, that would attract kids, they've got a channel name that would attract kids and stuff like that, or at least if they know in their analytics that the majority of their audience has become that age group, to kind of, like, I don't know, like, not to censor themselves, but, like, don't kind of release a video where you're kind of acting a bit goofy, you're not swearing, you're not talking about mature themes, you're kind of just playing with, like, I don't know, Polly Pockets or something, and then release the next one on the same channel where you're playing Call of Duty and you're screaming and swearing, because if a kid likes that channel, they're going to be subscribing to that, that's going to be in their feed. But I do think, in terms of parents, it's so important that they just kind of monitor a bit more what they're seeing and who they're talking to, because, like you say, people could get exposed to some, like, really weird things, even inadvertently.
Yeah. And I definitely, like I said before, I'm not saying that, because everyone says, oh, well, you should be watching your kid 24/7. Yeah, I understand that, but, like, there are times where, you know, it's physically impossible to be with your kid 24/7. It's physically impossible to watch everything that they do, but just, like, check in, because, especially with, like, iPads and stuff, you can literally see what they're looking at with that whole, like, cloud system, so definitely just take a look, make sure it's a safe thing, and if it's not a safe thing, just address kids about internet safety and all of that stuff, because, you know, you just don't know. And even, like, with, like, a game like Animal Crossing, you wouldn't think that stuff like that would happen, but it does, unfortunately. Not so much because it is a really good community, but I come from I feel like everyone does now with the world, but just you come into this world, and it's a tough world out there with a lot of weird people in it, and yeah, it's just something to be aware of.
That is so true. Now, I guess we're kind of getting to that stage now where I think we're about to wrap things up now. Does anyone have any kind of last topics that they want to bring up at all?
No, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's been amazing.
Honestly, I thought we'd be lucky to get it past that kind of 30-minute mark, but no, it's really just kind of evolved and become so fluid. So thank you so much for being on. Now, if you'd like to tell everyone where they can find you, you know, the channel and everything.
Alright, so if you're strictly on YouTube, you can find me at HarleyQ's Playtime. I try to get a video out every week. They don't always work that way, but I try to get a video out every week. I'm trying to get more and more videos out. If you like retro games and just game history, definitely a place you want to check out. The one place you'll always find me is Twitch. I stream from Monday to, I can't speak today, from Friday to Monday or Tuesday, depends on the week. We do a bunch of different games on there. Great community to come to, and just a nice place to stop by. And that's pretty much it. That's my self-plug.
No, so that's really, really good. And of course, we will make sure to include the YouTube and the Twitch links in the description, because we really love checking out those videos on those streams. Like, the amount of time that we've just finished recording a 5-Star Island tour, and like, I've seen you streaming, and it's just so entertaining to watch it alongside doing that kind of the last editing things. It's so good.
I work really hard on my Twitch streams too. Like, a lot of love goes into. I try to bring a lot of love into everything that I do, and I like to think I have a big, bold personality. I try to be entertaining.
No, they are really good. Like, there's so many things like that. Like, it's almost convinced me to get back into Minecraft, but I know for a fact that if I were to get back into it, I wouldn't speak to anyone ever again. It's too addictive for me. I could not do it, but no, definitely check out that. So, but okay, obviously then we are JB and Millie. You can find us on this channel here, so if you're just watching this for the first time, please do subscribe, and also follow us on Twitter at jmillievids. That would be amazing, because we'll do all our updates there. So thank you for listening to this first episode of the 5-Star Talk. We'll see you next time.